We begin this video with story time. It was a fateful Thursday morning. It was approximately 10:10 in the morning, a.m. I sat down for a lecture. Hundreds of people in this classroom for this lecture. I sat down. Survivor had recently come on. And so, of course, I had watched the show the night prior, but I wanted to catch up on the drama that was happening on Twitter in response to this first episode of Survivor. Big Brother VIP in Australia was under fire because one Caitlyn Jenner, she was purportedly being paid not to play Big Brother VIP, but rather to be the first person out on Big Brother VIP, such that she could come back to run for governor of California. She would later lose in that election to become governor of California. She would later lose, actually, by rather a large margin. But we didn't know this yet. And so I was fascinated by Big Brother VIP. I was fascinated by the attack on the game. Apparently, a similar thing happened with Anthony Scaramucci on the United States Big Brother Celebrity Big Brother show. And I was worried about the integrity of the game. And so this was something that was sort of in the mind of my knowledge of my thought process, right? And so because of this, I wanted the capacity to flit between listening to the lecture sometimes and then flit back to listening to Big Brother and Survivor and partaking in the experience of Twitter, partaking in the experience of any number of subject matters that might come up to me. I was considering buying shoes. I didn't buy shoes. I continue to have shoes that look like this. But I considered buying shoes and decided against it. Really, who needs shoes, right? So long as they're capable of sitting on your foot, and if some gravel gets in to your shoe, is that really that big a deal? No, I don't want new shoes. I don't need new shoes. These shoes are fine. They're not, but they're fine. But anyway, so I want, and I think I deserve the right, not privilege, but the right to decide to pay attention when I want to pay attention to this lecture, and decide not to pay attention when it does not behoove me. This is something that normally I am more than capable of doing. Right? We've all been in the context of academia. We've all lived through boring lectures that are not worthy of our full attention. We've all lived through this, right? We may not be our best selves, but we've all done it, right? We've all been in that moment when we are academics, yes, but we're sort of 50% paying attention, 50% not really paying attention fully. This is a lecture wherein there are 100 people, more than 100 people. But I sat down in the very middle of this classroom, this lecture hall, and directly behind me sat two girls, not women, girls. Their actions were girlish behaviors, not womanly behavior, girlish behavior. They were acting like children, okay? And so I will treat them thusly, okay, in the context of this story. So these children, they sat behind me, and they proceeded to have a full-on conversation, not even whispering, a full-on, with a normal speaking voice, just like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Did you hear about Max and Kyle? And did you go to the party? And did you experience the marijuana? Whatever, the schmickle, the boof. I wasn't paying attention to their words. But here is my problem. My problem is this. Now, were I to say to these people, hey, shut up, right? I'm trying to learn, right? Then they would likely have shut up. But then I would be morally obliged to pay attention for the rest of the lecture. Now, this is absurdity. I do not feel that I should have to give up my right to pay attention sometimes and to pay attention not other times, right? I don't think that I should have to give that up in order to have quiet when I am listening to a lecture / Big Brother. It is absurdity. It is absurdity, and it is something that I cannot abide by. Now, you might be asking, Jonah, why are you bringing this up on YouTube? Why can't you just whatever? Well, here's why, okay? This is political. Okay? I'm not just complaining for me. Nay, I am complaining on behalf of all students everywhere. Okay? This is from Now This, and it's a really interesting study. It's a study that shows that actually 64% of college students globally think online or hybrid learning is ideal for the future. Now, if you hovered here for more, you can see that the majority of those people, including myself, right, 47% of society, plurality of everyone, but majority of the people who believe that we should have either hybrid, whatever. So 47% of people think that we should have a hybrid program. And I agree with this. I see no reason that lecture with 100 people should be in person. There is no good argument. I have heard none. Now, should we have in-person, conversations? When we're having a conversation, I have another class where we're having conversations, like serious conversations about like slavery, serious conversations about, women's suffrage, right? All of these things that are like very much about conversation, but in the classroom, they're very much about, a dialogue, not just one person just lecturing the class. But when there are 100 people, okay, I am not getting to know on a personal level the other people in the class. I'm not getting to know on a personal level the professor. No, I am doing none of those things. You know what I'm doing? I am sitting there, I am playing on Facebook, everyone else is playing on Facebook, and in the moments that I don't want to play on Facebook, and I want to pretend to myself that everyone else is paying attention, that I'm a bad student for playing on Facebook, I look ahead of me, and you know what I see? I see a sea of computer screens. Every one of them is degeneracy. Every computer screen in front of me, all of them are enacting degeneracy. And if I want to convince myself that I am the lonely degenerate, when I am on a Zoom call, I can easily do that. Whenever I'm on a Zoom call, I just assume when I'm being a degenerate, I assume I am the bad one. I'm the only one who's being a degenerate. But if I am there, okay, in person, and I know with absolute certainty that the people in front of me aren't paying attention, okay, this distracts me. I have dyslexia. I don't know how exactly dyslexia works, but I do know that I have it. And I think that probably is bad, and therefore that's the reason. But anyway, I just wanted to show this because I'm telling you, okay, this is the future of information. This is the future of how we do education. I think that we need to have an education system, okay, that has the small classes, the classes where there's actual discussion, the classes where there's actual sort of like back and forth between the teacher and the students, those should be in person because those are better when they're in person. I agree with this. But when it's a lecture, I'm sorry. Lectures should not be in person. This is nonsense. I'm linking this thing below. You should scroll through it, and you should also agree with me. Thank you very much for listening to my very important rank. It was political. It was not just me complaining about my class. Okay, I want to be very clear that this article is proof that I was not simply arguing and complaining about things that happened to me in my personal life and the drama of not being able to experience Big Brother VIP of Australia with a level of ease that I rightfully deserve.